Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Buenos dias. Ni hao. Hezeche. Akwaba. Velkomen. What up, though? This is the weekly Holy Scriptures recorded recitation. This week is iteration numero 29, portion numero 29, which is Acharei Mot, or Acharei. This week is actually a double portion, and it's after a week effective hiatus in because of communication challenges. Anyways, we are back on schedule, routine. A double portion this week, numero 29 y 30. This is the first part of that double portion, which is again 29 Acharei Mot. That includes, today's date is 724.8.17 semicolon 72 semicolon 1 nu 7. So the portion for this week, Acharei Mot 29, which includes within the Torah, Acharei Mot, which is Vaikra 16, 1 a 18, 30. Within the Bhagavad Gita, it is Visva Rupa Darshana Yogehe, numero 11. Within the Digha Nikaya, it is the Janavasabha Sutta, numero 18. Within the Gospels, it is Luke 13 a 14. Within the Quran, it is Surah Saba and Surah Fatir, or Malaika, which is Surahs 34 a 35. And within the Tao Te Ching, it is chapters 7 a 12. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahu Akbar. Deus noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, Bahigu sanam. Dao kedao fehung dao. Ja. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Kyrie eleison. Sivumastu savajigatehi. Sabe sata bavantu sukitata. Fagabia. Ubuntu. Shabano. Fekako. Akwaba upendo na amani. Umenjikan. Sheshe. Como sonida. Domo arigato. Pilama yelo wakantonka. Talk odokashin good. God, we thank you for all that you bless us. Lord, may the God. Ata jamya yata afanami. Aho. Om shanti shanti shantihi. Amen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahu Akbar. Deus noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, Bahigu satnam. Dao kedao fehung dao. Ja. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitzanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'sok b'dvar Torah. Kyrie eleison. Sivumastu savajjigatehi. Sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Fakabia. Ubuntu. Shabana. Fekako. Akwaba upendo na amani. Umenjika. Sheshe. Como sonida. Domo arigato. Pilama yelo wakantonka. Talk adokashin good. God, we thank you for all that you bless us. Go remember God. Ata jamya yata afanami. Aho. Om shanti shanti shantihi. Amen. Torah, Acharei Mot, Vaikra 16:1 a 18:30. And the Lord spoke to Moshe after the death of Aaron's two sons, when they drew near before the Lord, and they died. And the Lord said to Moshe, "Speak to your brother Aaron, that he should not come at all times into the holy within the dividing curtain, in front of the cover that is upon the ark, so that he should not die. For I appear over the ark cover in a cloud. With this shall Aaron enter the holy, with a young bull for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall wear a holy linen shirt, and linen pants shall be upon his flesh, and he shall gird himself with a linen sash, and wear a linen cap. These are holy garments. And therefore he shall immerse himself in water and don them. And from the community of the children of Israel he shall take 2 he-goats as a sin offering, and 1 ram as a burnt offering. And Aaron shall bring his sin offering bull, and initiate an atonement for himself and for his household. And he shall take the 2 he-goats, and place them before the Lord at the entrance of the tent to the tent of meeting. And Aaron shall place lots upon the 2 he-goats, one lot for the Lord, and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall bring the he-goat upon which the lot for the Lord came up, and designate it as a sin offering. And the he-goat upon which the lot for Azazel came up shall be placed whilst still alive before the Lord, to initiate atonement upon it, and to send it away to Azazel into the desert. And Aaron shall bring his sin offering bull, and shall initiate atonement for himself and for his household, and he shall then slaughter his sin offering bull. And he shall take a pan full of burning coals from upon the altar from before the Lord, and both hands full of fine incense, and bring it within the dividing curtain. And he shall place the incense upon the fire before the Lord, so that the cloud of the incense shall envelop the ark cover that is over the tablets of testimony, so that he shall not die. And he shall take some of the bull's blood, and sprinkle it with his index finger on top of the ark cover on the eastern side, and before the ark cover he shall sprinkle 7 times from the blood with his index finger. He shall then slaughter the he-goat of the people's sin offering, and bring its blood within the dividing curtain, and he shall do with its blood as he had done with the bull's blood. And he shall sprinkle it upon the ark cover and before the ark cover. And he shall effect atonement upon the holy from the defilements of the children of Israel, and from their rebellions and all their unintentional sins. He shall do likewise to the tent of meeting, which dwells with them amidst their defilements. And no man shall be in the tent of meeting when he comes to effect atonement in the holy, until he comes out. And he shall effect atonement for himself, for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel. And he shall then go out to the altar that is before the Lord, and effect atonement upon it. He shall take some of the bull's blood and some of the he-goat's blood, and place it on the horns of the altar around. He shall then sprinkle some of the blood upon it with his index finger 7 times, and he shall cleanse it and sanctify it of the defilements of the children of Israel. And he shall finish effecting atonement for the holy, the tent of meeting, and the altar, and then he shall bring the live he-goat. And Aaron shall then lean both of his hands forcefully upon the live he-goat's head, and confess upon it all the willful transgressions of the children of Israel, all their rebellions and all their unintentional sins, and he shall place them on the he-goat's head, and send it off to the desert with a timely man. The he-goat shall thus carry upon itself all the sins to a precipitous land, and he shall send off the he-goat into the desert. And Aaron shall enter the tent of meeting, and remove the linen garments that he had worn when he came into the holy, and there he shall store them away. And he shall immerse his flesh in a holy place, and don his garments. He shall then go out and sacrifice his burnt offering and the people's burnt offering, and he shall effect atonement for himself and for the people. And he shall cause the fat of the sin offering to go up in smoke upon the altar. And the person who sent off the he-goat to Azazel shall immerse his garments and immerse his flesh in water, and after this he may come into the camp. And the sin offering and the he-goat of the sin offering, both of whose blood was brought to effect atonement in the holy, he shall take outside the camp, and they shall burn in fire with their hides, their flesh, and their waste. And the person who burns them shall immerse his garments and immerse his flesh in water, and after this he may come into the camp. And all this shall be as an eternal statute for you. In the 7th month, on the 10th of the month, you shall afflict yourselves, and you shall not do any work, neither the native nor the stranger who dwells amongst you. For on this day Adonai shall effect atonement for you to cleanse you. Before the Lord you shall be cleansed from all your sins. It is a Shabbat of rest for you, and you shall afflict yourselves. It is an eternal statute. And the Kohen who is anointed or who is invested to serve as in his far's stead shall effect this atonement, and he shall don the linen garments, the holy garments. And he shall effect atonement upon the Holy of Holies, and he shall effect atonement upon the tent of meeting, and upon the altar. And he shall effect atonement upon the Kohanim, and upon all the people of the congregation. All this shall be as an eternal statute for you, to effect atonement upon the children of Israel for all their sins once each year. And he did as the Lord had commanded Moshe. And the Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron and to his sons and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, This is the thing the Lord has commanded, saying, Any man of the house of Israel who slaughters an ox, a lamb, or a goat inside the camp, or who slaughters outside the camp, but does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to offer up as a sacrifice to the Lord before the Mishkan of the Lord, this act shall be counted for that man as blood. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from amongst his people, in order that the children of Israel should bring their offerings which they slaughter on the open field, and bring them to the Lord, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, to the Kohen, and slaughter them as peace offerings to the Lord. And the Kohen shall dash the blood upon the altar of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and he shall cause the fat to go up in smoke as a pleasing fragrance to the Lord. And they shall no longer slaughter their sacrifices to the slaughters after which they stray. This shall be an eternal statute for them for all their generations. And you should say to them, Any man of the house of Israel or of the strangers who will sojourn amongst them, who offers up a burnt offering or any other sacrifice, but does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting, to make it a sacrifice to the Lord, that man shall be cut off from his people. And any man of the house of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn amongst them who eats any blood, I will set my attention upon the soul who eats the blood, and I will cut him off from amongst his people. For the soul of the flesh is in the blood, and I have therefore given it to you to be placed upon the altar, to atone for your souls. For it is the blood that atones for the soul. Therefore I said to the children of Israel, None of you shall eat blood, and the stranger who sojourns amongst you shall not eat blood. And any man of the children of Israel, or of the strangers who sojourn amongst them, who traps a quarry of a wild animal or bird that may be eaten, and sheds its blood, he shall cover it, the blood, with dust. For regarding the soul of all flesh, its blood is in its soul, and as I said to the children of Israel, you should not eat the blood of any flesh, for the soul of any flesh is its blood, all who eat it shall be cut off. And any person, whether a native or a stranger, who eats carrion or what was torn, shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the waters, and shall remain unclean until evening, and then he shall become clean. But if he does not immerse his garments or immerse his flesh, he shall bear his sin. And the Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them that I am the Lord your God. Like the practice of the land of Egypt in which you dwelled, you shall not do. And like the practice of the land of Canaan, to which I am bringing you, you shall not do. And you shall not follow their statutes. You shall fulfill my ordinances and observe my statutes, to follow them. I am the Lord your God. You shall observe my statutes and my ordinances, which a man shall do, and live by them. I am the Lord. No man shall come near to any of his close relatives to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your far, or the nakedness of your more. She is your more, you shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your far's wife, it is your far's nakedness. The nakedness of your sister, whether your far's daughter or your more's daughter, whether born to one who may remain in the home or born to one who must be sent outside, you shall not uncover their nakedness. The nakedness of your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, you shall not uncover their nakedness, for they are your own nakedness. The nakedness of the daughter of your far's wife, born to your far, she is your sister, you shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your far's sister, she is the close relative of your far. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your more sister, for she is the close relative of your more. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your far's brother, you shall not come near his wife, she is your aunt. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law, she is your son's wife, you shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife, it is your brother's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, you shall not take in marriage her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter, to uncover her nakedness, they are close relatives, it is evil counsel. And you shall not take a woman with her sister in marriage as rivals, to uncover the nakedness of one upon the other in her lifetime. And to a woman during the uncleanness of her separation, you shall not come near to uncover her nakedness. You shall not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife to become defiled by her. And you shall not give any of your offspring to pass through for Molech, and you shall not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. You shall not lie down with a male as with a woman. This is an abomination. And with no animal shall you cohabit to become defiled by it. And a woman shall not stand in front of an animal to cohabit with it. This is depravity. You shall not defile yourselves by any of these things, for the nations whom I am sending away before you have defiled themselves with all these things. And the land became defiled, and I visited sin upon it, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. But as for you, you shall observe my statutes and my ordinances, and you shall not do like any of these abominations, neither the native nor the stranger who sojourns amongst you. For the people of the land who preceded you did all of these abominations, and the land became defiled. And let not the land vomit you out for having defiled it, as it vomited out the nation that preceded you. For anyone who commits any of these abominations, the persons doing so shall be cut off from the midst of their people. And you shall observe my charge not to commit any of the abominable practices that were done before you, and you shall not become defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Bhagavad Gita, Visvarupa Darsana Yogehe. Número 11. Arjuna said, "Out of compassion for me, you have spoken words of ultimate profundity concerning the self, and they have dispelled my delusion. I have learned from you at length, O lotus-eyed Krishna, of the origin and dissolution of beings, and also of your inexhaustible greatness. As you have declared yourself to be, O Supreme Lord, even so it is. Yet do I desire to see your Isvara form, O Supreme Purusha. If, O Lord, you think me able to behold it, then, O Master of Yogis, reveal to me your immutable self." Sri Krishna said, "Behold my forms, O Partha, by the hundreds and the thousands, manifold and divine, various in shape and hue. Behold the Adityas and the Vasus and the Rudras and the twin Aswins and the Maruts. Behold, O Bharata, many wonders that no one has ever seen before. Behold here today Kesa, the whole universe, of the moving and the unmoving and whatever else you desire to see, all concentrated in my body. But with these eyes of yours you cannot see me. I give you a divine eye. Behold now my sovereign yoga power." Sanjaya said, "Having spoken thus, O King, Hari, the great Lord of Yoga, revealed to Arjuna Brahman's supreme form as Ishvara. With many faces and eyes, presenting many wondrous sights, bedecked with many celestial ornaments, armed with many divine uplifted weapons, wearing celestial garlands and vestments, anointed with divine perfumes, all wonderful, resplendent, boundless, and with faces on all sides. If the radiance of 1,000 soleils were to burst forth at once in the sky, that would be like the splendor of the Mighty One. There, in the person of the God of celestial beings, Arjuna beheld the whole universe with its manifold divisions all gathered together in one. Then, overcome with wonder, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to the Lord, joined his palms in salutation, and thus addressed Brahman. Arjuna said, "In thy body, O Lord, I behold all the celestial beings and all the diverse hosts of beings. The master Brahma seated on the lotus, and all the rishis and the celestial serpents. I behold thee with myriads of arms and bellies, with myriad of faces and eyes. I behold thee infinite in form on every side, but I see not thy end, nor thy middle, nor thy beginning, O Lord of the universe, O universal form. I behold thee on all sides, glowing like a mass of radiance, with thy diadem and mace and discus, blazing everywhere like burning fire in the burning soleil, hard to look at and passing all measure. Thou art the imperishable, the supreme being to be realized. Thou art the supreme support of the universe. Thou art the undying guardian of the eternal Dharma. Thou art, in my belief, the primal being. I behold thee as one without beginning, middle, or end, with infinite arms and immeasurable strength, with the soleil and moon as thine eyes, with thy face shining like a blazing fire and burning with thy radiance. The whole universe. By thee alone are filled all the space between heaven and earth, and all the quarters of the sky. O mighty one, the three worlds behold thy marvelous and appalling form, and tremble with fear. Into thee enter these hosts of celestial beings, and some in feet extol thee with folded hands. And bands of rishis and siddhas exclaim, May there be peace, and praise thee with splendid hymns. The Rudras, Adityas, Vashus, and Saya, the Vishwas, Aswins, Marut, and Ushmapas, and the hosts of the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and Siddhas, all behold thee and are amazed. Beholding thy great form, O mighty Master, with myriads of mouths and eyes, and myriads of arms and thighs and feet, with myriads of bellies, and with myriads of terrible tusks, the worlds are affrighted, and so am I. When I look upon thy blazing form reaching to the skies and shining in many colors, when I see thee with the mouths opened wide, and thy great eyes glowing bright, my inmost soul trembles in fear, and I find neither courage nor peace, O Vishnu. When I behold thy mouths striking terror with their tusks like time's all-consuming fire, I am disoriented and find no peace. Be gracious, O Lord of the celestial beings, O abode of the universe. The sons of Dhritarashtra, together with the hosts of monarchs and Bhishma, Drona, and Karna, and the warriors, chiefs of our side as well, enter precipitately, thy tusked and terrible mouths frightful to behold. Some are seen caught between thy teeth, their heads crushed to powder. As the many torrents of the rivers rush towards the ocean, so do the heroes of the living world rush into thy fiercely flaming mouths. As moths rush swiftly into a blazing fire to perish there, even so do these creatures swiftly rush into thy mouths to their destruction. Thou lickest thy lips, devouring all the worlds on every side with thy flaming mouths. Thy fiery rays fill the whole universe with their radiance and scorch it, O Vishnu. Tell me who thou art that wearest this frightful form. Salutations to thee, O God Supreme. Have mercy, I desire to know thee, who art the primal one, for I do not understand thy purpose. Sri Krishna said, I am mighty, world-destroying time, now engaged here in slaying these men. Even without you, all these warriors standing arrayed in the opposing armies shall not live. Therefore stand up and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy an opulent kingdom. By me and none other have they already been slain. Be an instrument only, O Arjuna. Kill Drona and Bhishma and Jayadratha and Karna and the other great warriors as well, who have already been killed by me. Be not distressed by fear. Fight, and you shall conquer your foes in the battle. Sanjaya said, having heard these words of Krishna, Arjuna trembled, folded his hands in adoration, and bowed down. Overwhelmed with fear, he saluted Krishna, and then addressed Brahman again with faltering voice. Arjuna said, It is right, O Hrishikesa, that the world rejoices and delights in glorifying thee. The Rakshasas flee on all sides in terror, and the hosts of the Siddhas all bow to thee in adoration. And why should they not bow down to thee, O mighty being, greater than all, seeing thou art the primal cause even of Brahman? O infinite one, Lord of the celestial beings, O abode of the universe, thou art the imperishable being and non-being, and that which is the supreme. Thou art the first of celestial beings, the ancient soul. Thou art the supreme resting place of the universe. Thou art the knower and that which is to be known, and the ultimate goal. By thee is the world pervaded, O thou of infinite form. Thou art wind and death and fire and moon and the Lord of water. Thou art Prajapati, and the great grandsire. Salutations, salutations to thee 1,000 times, and again and yet again salutations, salutations to thee. Salutations to thee before, salutations to thee behind, salutations to thee on every side, O all. Infinite in might and immeasurable in strength, thou pervadest all, and therefore thou art all. Whatever I have rashly said from inadvertence or love, addressing thee as O Krishna or Yadava, or O friend, regarding thee merely as a friend unaware of thy greatness, and in whatever other ways I may have shown disrespect to thee whilst playing or resting, whilst sitting or eating, whilst alone, O eternal Master, or in the presence of others, all that I implore thee, O immeasurable, to forgive. Thou art the creator of the world, of all that move and all that do not move. Thou art the object of its worship, its most venerable teacher. There is no equal to thee. How then in the three worlds could there be another superior to thee, O thou of incomparable might? Therefore I bow down and prostrate my body before thee, the adorable Master, and seek thy grace. Bear with me, O Master, as a far with a son, as a friend with a friend, as a lover with his beloved. I rejoice that I have seen what was never seen before, but my mind is also troubled with fear. Show me that other form of thine. Be gracious, O Master of the celestial beings, O abode of the universe. I would see thee as before, with thy crown and thy mace, and the discus in thy hand. Assume again thy four-armed shape, O thou of 1,000 arms and of endless shapes. Sri Krishna said, By my grace, through my own yoga power, O Arjuna, I have shown you this supreme form, resplendent, universal, infinite, and primeval, which none but you has ever seen. Neither by the study of the Vedas and sacrifices, nor by gifts, nor by rituals, nor by severe penances, is this form of mine to be seen in the world of men by anyone but you, O chief of the Kurus. Be not afraid, be not bewildered on seeing this terrific form of mine. Free from fear and glad of heart, behold again my other form. Sanjaya said, having thus addressed Arjuna, Vasudeva revealed to him Sri Krishna's own form. The Great One assumed a graceful shape again and comforted the terrified Pandava. Arjuna said, Looking at this gentle form of yours, O Janardana, I now feel composed in mind. I am myself again. Sri Krishna said, It is very hard to see this form of mine which you have seen. Even the angels, even the celestial beings, are ever eager to see this form. Neither by the Vedas, nor by penances, nor by almsgiving, nor yet by sacrifice am I to be seen in the form in which you have nor beheld me. Neither by the devas, nor by penances, nor by almsgiving, nor yet by sacrifice am I to be seen in the form in which you have now beheld me. But by devotion to me alone may I be known in this form, O Arjuna, realized truly and entered into, O dreaded prince. He who does my work and looks on me as the supreme goal, who is devoted to me, who is without attachment and without hatred for any creature, he comes to me, O Pandava. Dighanakaya Janavasabha Sutta número 18. Número 18. Thus have I heard. The Exalted One was once staying in Nadika at the brick house. Now at that time the Exalted One was wont to make declarations as to the rebirths of such followers of the doctrine as had passed away in death amongst the tribes round about on every side, amongst the Kashis and Kosalans, the Vajyans and Malas, the Chetis and Vamsas, the Kurus and Panchalas, the Machas and Surasenas, saying, such a one as has been reborn there, and such a one there. From Nadika upwards of 50 adherents who passed away in death after having completely destroyed the 5 bonds that bind people to this world, have become inheritors of the highest heavens, there to pass utterly away, thence never to return. Full 90 adherents in Nadika who have passed away in death after having completely destroyed the 3 bonds and reduced to minimum lust, ill will, and delusion, have become once returners, and on their first return to this world shall make an end of pain. Over 500 adherents of Nadika who have passed away in death after having completely destroyed the 3 bonds and become converted cannot be reborn in any state of woe, but are assured of attaining to the insight of the higher stages of the path. Now the adherents of Nadika, when they heard these revelations, were pleased, gladdened, and filled with joy and happiness at these solutions by the Exalted One of the problems that had been put to him. Now the Venerable Ananda heard of these declarations made by the Exalted One, and of the satisfaction felt by the adherents at Nadika, and this idea occurred to him. But there were also adherents in many of them, and of long religious experience who have passed away in death. One might think that Anga and were void of adherents who have passed away in death, for they too had entire faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. They had fulfilled the ethical precepts, and yet concerning them, since they passed away in death, nothing has been declared by the Exalted One. It were surely a benevolent thing to evoke a response as to them, for much folk would believe and would hereafter enter into bliss. Then too there was Saniya Bimbisara, king of righteous and ruling righteously, benign to priests and laymen, to townfolk and countryfolk. His fame are men verily spreading abroad, saying, "Dead is our so righteous king of righteous rule, who made us so happy. How well have we lived in the kingdom of that righteous king." Now he too had entire faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and fulfilled the ethical precepts. And people verily have also said, Saniya Bimbisara, king, who up to the day of his death was given to praises to honor of the Exalted One, is dead. Concerning him who has passed away in death, nothing has been declared by the Exalted One. It were surely a benevolent thing to evoke a response as to him, for much folk would believe and would hereafter enter into bliss. Further, the Exalted One attained supreme insight. Now when that took place, how should there be no declaration from the Exalted One concerning adherents in who have passed away in death? If the Exalted One declare nothing concerning them, they will be hurt. And since they would be hurt, how can the Exalted One keep silence? Having thus pondered alone and privately concerning the Magadhi's adherents, the Venerable Ananda rose up the next matin and came into the presence of the Exalted One, and being come, saluted him and sat down on one side. And so sitting, he told the Exalted One all that he had heard and thought. And when he had made an end of thus speaking before the Exalted One, he rose from his seat, saluted the Exalted One rightwise, and went away. Then the Exalted One, not long after the Venerable Ananda had gone away, robed himself in the matin, and taking a bowl and cloak, went forth for alms to Nadika. And when he had walked through Nadika for alms, after his meal, when he had come back again from his round for alms and bathed his feet, he entered the brick house and sat down on a seat made ready, thinking over and cogitating upon and concentrating his whole mind on the Magadhi's adherents, saying to himself, "I have found out their future, their fate after this life, whither these benevolent men are bound, what their destiny is." And he, the Exalted One, saw the Magadhi's adherents, whither they were bound, and what their destiny was. Then at eventide the Exalted One, arising from his meditation, went out of the brick house and sat down on a mat spread in the shade behind the lodging place. Then the Venerable Ananda came into the presence of the Exalted One, saluted him, and sat down on one side. Thus seated, he said to the Exalted One, "My master, the Exalted One, looks serene. His complexion shines forth, as it were, owing to the tranquility of his faculties. Has the master, the Exalted One, spent a pleasant day?" When you had made that speech to me, Ananda, concerning the Magadhi's adherents, and had gone away, I, when I had gone to Nadika for alms, had dined, returned, bathed my feet, and entered the brick house, sat me down on a mat spread there, and thought over, cogitated upon, and concentrated my whole mind on those Magadhi's adherents, resolving to know their future, their fate after this life, whither these benevolent men were bound, what their destiny would be. And I saw, Ananda, those Magadhi's adherents, whether the benevolent men were bound, what their destiny would be. Thereupon an invisible spirit made himself heard, saying, I am Janavasaba. I am Janavasaba, O Exalted One. I am Janasaba, O Welcome One. Now do you allow, Ananda, that you have ever heard any one bearing such a name as Janavasaba? I confess, Master, that I have never heard of one bearing such a name as Janavasaba. Further, Master, on hearing such a name as Janavasaba, I am thrilled with excitement, and I fancy it can be no ordinary spirit who bears such a name as Janavasaba. After those words had been spoken, Ananda, the spirit himself appeared before me, a splendid presence, and he made a second utterance. I am Bimbisara, O Exalted One. I am Bimbisara, O Welcome One. 'Tis now the 7th time, Master, that I am reborn into the communion of the great King Vesavana. Deceased as a human king, I am in heaven become a non-human king, hence 7, thence 7, and all 14 rebirths. So much I know of lives I've lived in the long past. Long, Master, have I, who am destined not to be reborn in states of woe, been conscious of that destiny, and now is there desire in me to become a once returner. Wonderful is this, marvelous is this, that you, the venerable spirit of Janavasaba, tell me, long have I, who am destined not to be reborn in states of woe, been conscious of that destiny. And again, now is there desire in me to become a once returner. How has it come about that Janavasaba, the venerable spirit, recognizes his attainment to a distinction so splendid? No wise save through thy word, O Exalted One. No wise save through thy word, O Blessed One. From the moment when I had gone over in absolute and entire faith to the Exalted One, from that moment, Master, did I, who am destined not to be reborn in states of woe, been conscious of that destiny, and I now desire to become a once returner. Now, Master, I have been sent on a message concerning some business by King Vesavana to King Virulaka, and on my way I saw the Exalted One entering the brick house and sitting down to think over, to cogitate upon, to concentrate his whole mind upon the deceased Magadhi's adherents, and the resolve to know their future, their fate after this life, whether the benevolent men are bound, what their destiny is. Now it was only the moment before, Master, that I had heard face to face and had understood from his own mouth, from King Vasavana, how he had said to his assembly whether those benevolent men were bound and what their destiny was. So it occurred to me that I would visit the Exalted One and would announce it to him. These, Master, are the 2 reasons why I came forth to visit the Exalted One. In days gone by, Master, in days long gone by, it came to pass that on the night of the feast of the 15th day at the full moon in the month for entering upon retreat, the month Asali, the whole of the celestial beings in the retinue of the 33 were assembled together, seated in the hall of the benevolent council, and around them on every side a vast celestial company was seated, and at the 4 quarters of the firmament sat the 4 great kings. There was Datarata, king of the east, seated facing the west, presiding over his host. Virulaka, king of the south, seated facing the north, presiding over his host. Virupaka, king of the west, seated facing the east, presiding over his host. And Vesavana, king of the north, seated facing the south, presiding over his host. Whenever, Master, all the angels in the heaven of the 33 are assembled and seated in their hall of benevolent council, with a vast celestial company seated around them on every side, and with the 4 great kings at the 4 quarters of the firmament, this is the order of the seats of the 4. After that comes our seats, and those celestial beings, Master, who had been recently reborn in the host of the 33, because they had lived the higher life under the Exalted One. They outshone the other celestial beings in appearance and in glory. And thereat, Master, the 33 were glad and of benevolent cheer, were filled with joy and happiness, saying, Verily, sirs, the celestial hosts are waxing, the titanic hosts are waning. Now, Master Saka, ruler of the celestial beings, when he saw the satisfaction felt by the retinue of the 33, expressed his approval in these verses. The 33, verily, both celestial beings and Master rejoice. Tathagata they honor, and the cosmic law sublime. Whereas they see the celestial beings new risen, beautiful and bright, who erst the holy life had lived under the happy one, the mighty sages' hearers, who had won to higher truth, come hither, and in glory all the other celestial beings outshine. This they behold right gladly, both Master and 33, Tathagata they honor, and the cosmic law sublime. Hereat, Master, the 33 celestial beings were even further abundantly glad and of benevolent cheer and filled with joy and happiness, saying, Verily, the celestial hosts are waxing, the titanic hosts are waning. Then, Master, concerning the object for which the 33 celestial beings were assembled in their seats in the hall of benevolent council, They took counsel and deliberated about it, and with respect to that object the four great kings were addressed, and with respect to that object the four great kings were admonished, standing by their seats. The uttered word the admonished kings accepted there, serene in mind and calm, they stood each at his place. Then, Master, a splendid light came forth out of the north, and a radiance shone around, surpassing the holy glory of the celestial beings. And Master then did Saka, the king of the celestial beings, say to the retinue of the 33, according, friends, to the signs now seen, the light that ariseth, the radiance that appeareth, Brahma will be manifested. For this is the herald sign of the manifestation of Brahma, to wit, when the light ariseth and glory shineth, the portents now are seen, so Brahma draweth nigh, for this is Brahma's sign, this glorious splendor vast. Then Master, the celestial beings of the 33 sat down in their own places, saying, we will ascertain what shall be the result of this radiance. When we have realized it, we will go to meet Brahma. The four great kings also sat down in their own places, saying the same. And when they had heard this, the celestial beings of the 3 and 30 were altogether agreed. We will ascertain what shall be the result of this radiance. When we have realized it, we will go to meet it. When Master Brahma Sanam Kumara appears before the 33 celestial beings, he appears as a relatively gross personality which he has specially created. For Brahma's usual appearance is not sufficiently materialized to impress the vision of the 33 celestial beings. And, Master, when Brahma Sanam Kumara appears before the 33 celestial beings, he outshines the other celestial beings in color and in glory. Just, Master, as a figure made of gold outshines the human frame, so when Brahma Sanam Kumara appears before the 33 celestial beings, does he outshine the other celestial beings in color and in glory. And when, Master, Brahma Sanam Kumara appears before the 33 celestial beings, there is no celestial being in all that assembly that salutes him or rises up or invites him to be seated. They all sit in silence with clasped hands and cross-legged, thinking of whichever celestial being Brahma Sanam Kumara now desires anything, he will sit down on that celestial being's divan. And by whichever celestial being he does sit down, that celestial being is filled with a sublime satisfaction, a sublime happiness, even as a Kshatriya king newly anointed and crowned is filled with a sublime satisfaction, a sublime happiness. So Master Brahma Sanam Kumara, having seated a grosser personality and become in appearance as the youth Five Crest, manifested himself thus to the celestial beings of the company of the 33. Rising up into the air, he sat down cross-legged in the sky. Just, Master, as easily as a strong man might sit down cross-legged on a well-spread divan or a smooth part of ground. Even so did Brahma Sanam Kumara, rising up into the air, sit down cross-legged in the sky. And seeing the tranquility of the celestial beings of the company of the 33, he expressed his pleasure in these verses. The 3 and 30, verily both celestial beings and Master rejoice, Tathagata they honor, and cosmic law sublime. Whereas they see these celestial beings new risen, beautiful and bright, who erst the holy life had lived under the happy one, the mighty sage's hearers, who had won to higher truth, come hither, and in glory all the other celestial beings outshine. This they behold right gladly, both Master and 33, Tathagata they honor, and the cosmic law sublime. This was the matter of Brahma Sanam Kumara's speech, and he spoke it with a voice of eightfold characteristics, in a voice that was fluent, intelligible, sweet, audible, continuous, distinct, deep, and resonant. And whereas Master Brahma Sanam Kumara communicated with that assembly by his voice, the sound thereof did not penetrate beyond the assembly. He whose voice has these 8 characteristics is said to be Brahma voiced. Then Master Brahma Sanam Kumara, having created 33 shapes of himself, sitting each on the couch of each of the 33 angels, thus the 3 and 30 celestial beings, thus addressed the celestial beings. Now what think ye, my Master celestial beings, 30 and 3? Inasmuch as the Exalted One hath acted for the welfare of the peoples, for the happiness of the peoples, out of pity for the world, for the advantage, for the welfare, for the happiness of celestial beings and men. They, whoever they be, sirs, who have taken the Buddha for their refuge, the Dharma for their refuge, the Sangha for their refuge, they on the dissolution of the body after death have been reborn, some of them into the communion of the Paranamita Vasavati celestial beings, some of them into the communion of the Tusita celestial beings. or of the Krods in the retinue of Yama, or of the 33 celestial beings, or of the 4 great kings. Those who fill the number of the lowest group, they go to fill the number of the Gandharva host. This was the matter of Brahma Sanam Kumara's speech, and he spoke it with such a voice that each celestial being fancied, he who is on my seat is on my divan, he alone hath spoken. Speaks but one Brahma shape, the 33 all speak. Silently sits one shape, they all in silence sit. Then all the 33 with their king too think, he who is on my couch, 'tis he alone that spake. Then Master Brahma Sanam Kumara betook himself to one end of the hall, and sitting down on the divan of Saka, master of the celestial beings, addressed the 33 celestial beings. Now what think you, my master celestial beings, 33, of the completeness wherewith the exalted one who knows, who sees, the Arahant, the Buddha Supreme, hath revealed the four ways to Iti, for the development thereof, for proficiency therein, for the elaboration thereof. Which are they? In the first place, a brother practices that way which is compounded of concentration and effort with desire. In the second place, a brother practices that way which is compounded of concentration and effort with energy. In the third place, a brother practices that way which is compounded of concentration and effort with a dominant idea. In the fourth place, a brother practices that way which is compounded of concentration and effort with investigation. These, sir, are the 4 ways to Iti, revealed by the exalted one who knows, who sees, the Arahant Buddha Supreme, for the development thereof, for proficiency therein, for the elaboration thereof. Now those recluses or Brahmins who in past times have enjoyed Iti in one or further of its forms, they have all done so through practice and improvement in just these. And those recluses and Brahmins who in future times will enjoy Iti in one or further of its forms, they will all do so through practice and improvement in just these. And those recluses or Brahmins who at the present time enjoy Iti in one or further of its forms, they all do so through practice and improvement in just these. Do you see, my master celestial beings, 33, in me a potency of Iti like that? Yea, Brahma. I too, sirs, through practice and improvement in just these to Iti, have acquired such power and potency therein. Such was the matter of Brahma Sanam Kumara's speech, and having thus spoken, he addressed the 33 celestial beings. Now what think ye, my master celestial beings, 33, of the 3 avenues for arriving at bliss manifested by the exalted one who knows, who sees, by the Arhat Buddha Supreme? Which are the 3? In the first place, sirs, take a brother who is living in indulgence in the pleasures of sense in association with bad conditions. He on a certain occasion hears the Aryan truth, studies it, and acquires both the main and the subsidiary doctrines. Having come to this hearing, studying, and acquisition, he takes to a life detached from the pleasures of sense, not associated with bad conditions. Under these circumstances, he experiences ease, and further than ease, happiness. Just as a feeling of complacency may develop into gladness, so does for him, under those circumstances, first ease arise, and then further than ease, happiness. This, sirs, is the for arriving at bliss manifested by the exalted one, Buddha Supreme. In the next place, sirs, take a brother in whom the grosser conditions precedent to action, speech, and thought are not entirely calmed down. He, on a certain occasion, hears the Aryan truth preached, studies it, and acquires both the main and subsidiary doctrines. Having arrived at this hearing, studying, and acquisition, the grosser conditions precedent to action, speech, and thought in him become entirely calmed down. And from this ease is experienced, and then further than ease, happiness. Just as a feeling of complacency may develop into gladness, so does for him under those circumstances first ease arise, and then further than ease, happiness. This, sirs, is the for arriving at bliss manifested by the exalted one, Buddha Supreme. In the third place, sirs, take the case of a brother who does not truly know that this is benevolent, this is bad, this is wrong, this is not wrong. This is to be followed, this is to be avoided. This is base, this is excellent. This is of mixed dark and bright quality. He on a certain occasion hears the Aryan truth, studies it, and acquires the main and subsidiary doctrines. Having arrived at this hearing, study, and acquisition, he now truly knows that this is benevolent. He truly knows that this is bad, this is wrong, this is not wrong. This is to be followed, this is to be avoided. This is base, this is excellent. This is of mixed dark and bright quality. For him thus knowing, thus seeing, ignorance is put away, wisdom has arisen. From this extinction of ignorance, from the rising of wisdom, a sense of ease arises, and then further than ease, happiness. Just as a feeling of complacency may develop into gladness, so does for him under these circumstances first ease arise, and then further than ease, happiness. This, sirs, is now for arriving at bliss manifested by the Exalted One who knows, who sees, Arhat Buddha Supreme. These, sirs, are the three avenues for arriving at bliss manifested by the Exalted One who knows and sees the Arhat Buddha Supreme. On this matter, Master, did Brahma Sanam Kumara speak, and having so spoken, he addressed the 33 celestial beings. Now what think ye, my Master, celestial beings, 30 and 3, of the completeness wherewith the Exalted One who knows, who sees, the Arhat Buddha Supreme, hath revealed the four inceptions of mindfulness for attaining to the benevolent. And which are the four? Take, sir, as a brother who abides subjectively watchful over the body, ardent, self-possessed, mindful, that he may discern the unhappiness arising from coveting the things of the world. So subjectively watchful, he attains to right concentration and right calm. He, having right concentration and right calm in his physical being, evokes knowledge of and insight into all other physical forms external to himself. So again, he abides subjectively watchful over his feelings, over his heart, over his ideas, ardent, self-possessed, mindful, that he may discern the unhappiness arising from coveting the things of the world. So subjectively watchful, he attains to right concentration and right calm. He, having concentration and right calm in his feelings, his heart, his ideas, evokes knowledge of and insight into the ideas of others external to himself. These, sirs, are the four inceptions of deliberation for attaining to the benevolent, completely revealed by the Exalted One, who knows, who sees, the Arhat Buddha Supreme. On this matter did Brahma Sanam Kumara speak, and having spoken, he addressed the 33 celestial beings. Now what think ye, my Master, celestial beings, 30 and 3, of the completeness wherewith the Exalted One, who knows, who sees, the Arhat Buddha Supreme, hath revealed the 7 requisites of intellectual concentration for practice of right rapture, for the perfection of rapture, which are the 7: right views, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness. That concentration of thought, sirs, which is prepared by these 7 factors, is called the noble right rapture, together with its basis, together with its requisites. Right intention suffices to maintain right views. Right speech suffices to maintain right intention. Right action suffices to maintain right speech. Right livelihood suffices to maintain right action. Right effort suffices to maintain right livelihood. Right mindfulness suffices to maintain right effort. Right rapture suffices to maintain right mindfulness. Right knowledge suffices to maintain right rapture. Right freedom suffices to maintain right knowledge. If anyone uttering right speech, sirs, were to say, well hath the Exalted One proclaimed the Dharma that in this life beareth fruit, that avails not for a time only, that welcometh everyone, that leadeth away and onward, that each one who hath intelligence may of and by himself understand. Then in saying, wide open are the portals to nirvana. For, sirs, whosoever has unwavering faith in the Buddha, unwavering faith in the Dharma, unwavering faith in the Sangha, and is endowed with the virtues pleasing to the noble ones, and whatsoever new celestial beings have appeared in our midst, led hither by the Dharma, to wit further than 24 lakhs of disciples, now dead and gone. These are through complete destruction of the 3 bonds, have become converted and cannot be reborn in any state of woe, but are assured of attaining to the insight of the highest stages of the path. Further, there are here once returners, but of that other breed to tell of high merit, lo, the tale I cannot reckon, lest perchance I should offend against the truth. This, Master, was the matter of Brahma Sanam Kumara's speech, and concerning what he had spoken, the reflection arose in the mind of the great King Vasavana. Wonderful truly is it, sirs, marvelous is it, that there should be so glorious a teacher, so glorious a proclaiming of the truth of the Dharma, and such glorious avenues to distinction should be made known. Then Master Brahma Sanam Kumara, discerning this reflection in the mind of great King Vasavana, spake thus to him. Now what thinks my master, the great King Vasavana? There both has been in past times a teacher so glorious, a proclaiming of the Dharma so glorious, making known such glorious avenues to distinction, And there will be also in future times a teacher so glorious, a proclaiming of the Dharma so glorious, a making known such glorious avenues to distinction. This was the matter whereof Brahma Sanam Kumara spoke to the 33 celestial beings. And this matter the great king Vasavana, when he had in his own person heard it and assented to it, reported to his own following. And this matter the spirit Janavasabha, when he had in his own person heard it, so reported by Vasavana, reported to the Exalted One. And this matter the Exalted One, when he had in his own person heard it and assented to it, and had also intuitively discerned it and reported to Ananda. And this matter the Venerable Ananda, when he had in his own person heard it from the Exalted One and assented to it, reported to the brethren and the sisterhood, to believing laymen and lay women. And the system waxed influential and prosperous, and expanded and broadened with the numbers that joined, so well was it spread abroad amongst men. Gospels, Luke 13-14. Now there were some present at that time who told Jesus about the Galileans, whose blood Pilate had mixed with their sacrifices. Jesus answered, Do you think that these Galileans were worse sinners than all the other Galileans because they suffered this way? I tell you no, but unless you repent, you too will all perish. Or those 18 who died when the tower of Siloam fell on them, do you think they were further guilty than all the others living in Yerushalayim? I tell you no, but unless you repent, you too will all perish. Then he told this parable. A man had a fig tree growing in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruit on it, but did not find any. So he said to the man who took care of the vineyard, For 3 years now I have been coming to look for fruit on this fig tree, and haven't found any. Cut it down. Why should it utilize up the soil? Sir, the man replied, leave it alone for one further year, and I'll dig around it and fertilize it. If it bears fruit next year, fine, but if not, then cut it down. On Shabbat, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues. And a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, Woman, you are set free from your infirmity. Then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God. Indignant because Jesus had healed on Shabbat, the synagogue leaders said to the people, There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, not on Shabbat. The master answered him, You hypocrites! Doesn't each of you on Shabbat untie your ox or donkey from the stall and lead it out to give it water? Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound for 18 long years, be set free on Shabbat from what bound her? When he said this, all his opponents were humiliated, but the people were delighted with all the wonderful things he was doing. Then Jesus asked, What is the sovereignty of God like? What shall I compare it to? It is like a mustard seed which a man took and planted in his garden. It grew and became a tree, and the birds perched in its branches. Again he asked, What shall I compare the sovereignty of God to? It is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into about 60 pounds of flour until it worked all through the dough. Then Jesus went through the towns and villages, teaching as he made his way to Yerushalayim. Someone asked him, Master, are only a few people going to be saved? He said to them, Make every effort to enter through the narrow door, because many, I tell you, will try to enter and will not be able to. Once the owner of the house gets up and closes the door, you will stand outside knocking and pleading, Sir, open the door for us. But he will answer, I don't know you or where you come from. Then you will say, We ate and drank with you, and you taught in our streets. But he will reply, I don't know you or where you come from. Away from me, all you evildoers. There will be weeping there and gnashing of teeth when you see Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and all the prophets in the sovereignty of God, but you yourselves thrown out. People will come from east and west and north and south, and will take their places at the feast in the sovereignty of God. Indeed, there are those who are last who will be first, and first who will be last. At that time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said to him, Leave this place and go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you. He replied, Go tell that fox, I'll keep on driving out demons and healing people today and mañana, and on the third day I will reach my goal. In any case, I must press on today and mañana and the next day, for surely no prophet can die outside Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of God. One Shabbat, when Jesus went to eat in the house of a prominent Pharisee, he was being carefully watched. There in front of him was a man suffering from abnormal swelling of his body. Jesus asked the Pharisees and experts in the law, Is it lawful to heal on Shabbat or not? But they remained silent. So taking hold of the man, he healed him and sent him on his way. Then he asked them, If one of you has a child or an ox that falls into a well on Shabbat, will you not immediately pull it out? And they had nothing to say. When he noticed how the guests picked the places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person further distinguished than you may have been invited. So if so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, Give this person your seat. Then humiliated, you will have to take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, Friend, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in the presence of all the other guests. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Then Jesus said to his host, When you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, your relatives, or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the sovereignty of God. Jesus replied, A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, Come, for everything is now ready. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, I have just bought a field, and I must go and see it. Please excuse me. Another said, I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Still another said, I just got married, so I can't come. The servant came back and reported this to the master. Then the owner of the house became angry and ordered his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Sir, the servant said, What you ordered has been done, but there is still room. Then the master told his servant, Go out to the roads and country lanes and compel them to come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, If anyone comes to me and does not hate far or more, wife and children, brothers or sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, This person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able to, with 10,000 men, to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation whilst the other is still a long way off, and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Salt is benevolent, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile when it is thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Quran, Surah Saba, Surah Fatir, 34 a 35. Surah 30, Surah Saba 34. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, to whom belong all things in the heavens and on earth. To Allah be praise in the hereafter, and Allah is full of wisdom, acquainted with all things. Allah knows all that goes into the earth, and all that comes out thereof, all that comes down from the sky, and all that ascends thereto, and Allah is the most merciful, the oft forgiving. The unbelievers say, never to us will come the hour. Say, nay, but most surely by my Lord it will come upon you. By Allah who knows the unseen, from whom is not hidden the least little atom in the heavens or on earth, nor is there anything less than that or greater, but is in the record perspicuous. That Allah may reward those who believe and work deeds of righteousness, for such is forgiveness and a sustenance most generous. But those who strive against our signs to frustrate them, for such will be a penalty, a punishment of most humiliating. And those to whom knowledge has come see that the revelation sent down to thee from thy Lord, that is the truth, and it guides to the path of the exalted in might, worthy of all praise. The unbelievers say in ridicule, shall we point out to you a man that will tell you, when ye are all scattered to portions and disintegration, that ye shall then be raised in a new creation? Has he invented a falsehood against Allah, or has a spirit seized him? Nay, it is those who believe not in the hereafter that are in true penalty and in furthest error. See they not what is before them and behind them of the sky and the earth? If we wished, we could cause the earth to swallow them up, or cause a portion of the sky to fall upon them. Verily, in this is a sign for every devotee that turns to Allah in repentance. We bestowed grace aforetime on David from ourselves. O ye mountains, sing ye back the praises of Allah with him, and ye birds also, and we made the iron soft for him, commanding, make thou coats of mail, balancing well the rings of chain armor, and work ye righteousness, for be sure I see clearly all that ye do. And to Solomon we made the wind obedient. Its matan stride was a month's journey, and its evening stride was a month's journey. And we made a font of molten brass to flow for him, and there were jinns that worked in front of him by the leave of his Lord. And if any of them turned aside from our command, we made him taste of the penalty of the blazing fire. They worked for him as he desired, making arches, images, basins, and as large as reservoirs, and cooking cauldrons fixed with their palaces. Work ye sons of David with thanks, but few of my servants are grateful. Then when we decreed Solomon's death, nothing showed them his death except a little worm of the earth, which kept slowly gnawing away at his staff. So when he fell down, the jinns saw plainly that if they had known the unseen, they would not have tarried in the humiliating penalty of their task. There was for Saba aforetime a sign in their home land, 2 gardens to the right and to the left. Eat of the sustenance provided by your Lord, and be grateful to Allah. A territory fair and happy, and a Lord oft forgiving. But they turned away from Allah, and we sent against them the flood, released from the dams, and we converted 2 garden rows into gardens producing bitter fruit and tamarisks, and some few stunted lotus trees. That was the requital we gave them, because they ungratefully rejected faith, and never do we give such requital except to such as are ungrateful rejectors. Between them and the cities on which we had poured our blessings, we had placed cities in prominent positions, and between them we had appointed stages of journey in due proportion. Travel therein secure by night and by day. But they said, our Lord, place longer distances between our journey stages. But they wronged themselves therein. At length we made them as a tale that is told, and we dispersed them all in scattered fragments. Verily in this are signs for every soul that is patiently constant and grateful. And on them did Satan prove true his idea, and they followed him, all but a party that believed. But he had no authority over them, except that we might test the man who believes in the hereafter, from him who is doubt concerning it. And thy Lord doth watch over all things. Say, call upon other deities whom ye fancy besides Allah. They have no power nor weight of an atom in the heavens or the earth. No sort of share have they therein, nor is any of them a helper to Allah. No intercession can avail in Allah's presence except for those for whom Allah has granted permission. So much is this the case that when terror is removed from their hearts at the day of judgment, then will they say, "What is it that your Lord commanded?" They will say, "That which is true and just, and Allah is the most high, most great." Say, "Who gives you sustenance from the heavens and the earth?" Say, "It is Allah." And certain it is that either we or ye are on guidance or in manifest error. Say, "Ye shall not be questioned as to our sins, nor shall we be questioned as to what you do." Say, "Our Lord will gather us together and will in the end decide the matter between us and you in truth and justice. And Allah is the one to decide, the one who knows all." Say, "Show me those whom ye have joined with Allah as partners. By no means can ye. Nay, Allah is Allah, exalted in power, the wise. We have not sent thee but as a universal messenger to men, giving them glad tidings and warning them against sin, but most men understand not." They say, "When will this promise come to pass, if ye are telling the truth?" Say, "The appointment to you is for a day which ye cannot put back for an hour nor put forward." The unbelievers say, "We shall neither believe in this scripture nor in any that came before it. Couldst thou but see that when the wrongdoers will be made to stand before their Lord, throwing back the word of blame on one another. Those who had been despised will say to the arrogant ones, Had it not been for you, we should certainly have been believers. The arrogant ones will say to those who had been despised, Was it we who kept you back from guidance after it reached you? Nay, rather it was ye who transgressed. Those who had been despised will say to the arrogant ones, Nay, it was a plot of yours by day and by night. Behold, ye constantly ordered us to be ungrateful to Allah and attribute equals to Allah. They will declare their repentance when they see the penalty. We shall put yokes on the necks of the unbelievers. It will only be a requital for their ill deeds. Never did we send a warner to a population, but the wealthy ones amongst them said, We believe not in the message which ye have been sent. They said, We have further in wealth and in sons, and we cannot be punished. Say, Verily my Lord enlarges and restricts the provision to whom Allah pleases, but most men understand not. It is not your wealth nor your sons that will bring you nearer to us in degree, but only those who believe and work righteousness. These are the ones for whom there is a multiplied reward for their deeds, whilst secure they reside in the dwellings on high. Those who strive against our signs to frustrate them will be given over into punishment. Say, Verily my Lord enlarges and restricts the sustenance to such of Allah's servants as Allah pleases, and nothing do ye spend in the least in Allah's cause, but Allah replaces it. For Allah is the best of those who grant sustenance. One day Allah will gather them all together and say to the angels, Was it you that these men used to worship? They will say, Glory to thee, our tie is with thee as protector, not with them. Nay, but they worship the jinns, most of them believed in them. So on that day no power shall they have over each other for benefit or harm. And we shall say to the wrongdoers, Taste ye the penalty of the fire, the which you were wont to deny. When our clear signs are rehearsed to them, they say, This is only a man who wishes to hinder you from the worship which your fathers practiced. And they say, This is only a falsehood invented. And the unbelievers say of the truth when it comes to them, This is nothing but evident magic. But we had not given them books which they could study, nor apostles to them before thee as warners. And their predecessors rejected the truth, and these have not received a tenth of what we had granted to those. Yet when they rejected my apostles, how terrible was my rejection of them. Say, I do admonish you on one point, that ye do stand up before Allah. It may be in pairs, or it may be singly, and reflect within yourselves. Your companion is not possessed; he is no less than a warner to you, in face of a terrible penalty. Say, no reward do I ask of you; it is all in your interest. My reward is only due from Allah, and Allah is witness to all things. Say, verily, my Lord doth cast the mantle of truth over Allah's servants. Allah that has full knowledge of all that is hidden. Say, the truth has arrived, and falsehood neither creates anything new nor restores anything. Say, if I am astray, I only stray to the loss of my own soul, but if I receive guidance, it is because of the inspiration of my Lord to me. It is Allah who hears all things and is ever near. If thou couldst but see when they will quake with terror, but then there will be no escape for them, and they will be seized from a position quite near. And they will say, we do believe now in the truth, but how could they receive faith from a position so distantly off? Seeing that they did reject faith entirely before, and that they continually cast slanders on the unseen from a position distantly off. And between them and their desires is placed a barrier, as was done in the past with their partisans, for they were indeed a insuspicious, disquieting doubt. Surah Fatir, or Malaika, 35. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, who created out of nothing the heavens and the earth, who made the angels messengers with wings, 2 or 3 or 4 pairs. Allah adds to creation as Allah pleases, for Allah has power over all things. What Allah out of Allah's mercy doth bestow on mankind, there is none can withhold. What Allah doth withhold, there is none can grant, apart from Allah, and Allah is the exalted in power, full of wisdom. O men, call to mind the grace of Allah unto you. Is there a creator other than Allah to give you sustenance from heaven or earth? There is no deity but Allah. How then are ye deluded away from the truth? If they reject thee, so were apostles rejected before thee, to Allah back for decision all affairs. O men, certainly the promise of Allah is true. Let not then this present life deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver deceive you about Allah. Verily Satan is an enemy to you, so treat him as an enemy. He only invites adherents that they may become companions of the blazing fire. For those who reject Allah is a terrible penalty, but for those who believe and work righteous deeds is forgiveness and a magnificent reward. Is he then to whom the evil of his conduct is made alluring, so that he looks upon it as benevolent, equal to one who is rightly guided? For Allah leaves to astray whom Allah wills, and guides to whom Allah wills. So let not thy soul go out in vainly sighing after them, for Allah knows well all that ye do. It is Allah who sends forth the winds so that they raise up the clouds, and we drive them to a land that is dead, and we revive the earth therewith after its death. Even so will be the resurrection. If any do seek for glory and power, to Allah belong all glory and power. To Allah mount up all words of purity. It is Allah who exalts each deed of righteousness. Those that lay plots of evil, for them is a penalty terrible, and the plotting of such will be void of result. And Allah did create you from dust, then from a sperm drop, then Allah made you in pairs, and no female conceives or lays down her load but with Allah's knowledge. Nor is a man long lived, granted length of days, nor is a part cut from his life, but is in a decree ordained. All this is easy to Allah. Nor are the two bodies of flowing water alike, the one palatable, sweet and pleasant to drink, and the other salt and bitter. Yet from each kind of water do ye eat flesh fresh and tender, and ye extract ornaments to wear, and thou seest the ships therein that plow the waves, that ye may seek thus of the bounty of Allah, that ye may be grateful. Allah merges night into day, and Allah merges day into night, and Allah has subjected the soleil and the moon to Allah's law. Each one runs its course for a term appointed, such is Allah your Lord. To Allah belongs all dominion, and those whom ye invoke besides Allah have not the least power. If ye invoke them, they will not listen to your call, and if they were to listen, they cannot answer your prayer. On the day of judgment, they will reject your partnership, and none, O man, can tell thee the truth like the one who is acquainted with all things. O ye men, it is ye that have need of Allah, but Allah is the one free of all wants, worthy of all praise. If Allah so pleased, Allah could blot you out and bring in a new creation. Nor is that all difficult for Allah. Nor can a bearer of burdens bear another's burdens. If one heavily laden should call another to bear his load, not the least portion of it can be carried by the other, even though he be nearly related. Thou canst but admonish such a fear that their Lord unseen, and establish such as fear their Lord unseen, and establish regular prayer. And whoever purifies himself does so for the benefit of his own soul, and the destination of all is to Allah. The blind and the seeing are not alike. Nor are the depths of darkness and the light, nor are the chilly shade and the genial heat of the soleil, nor are alike those that are living and those that are dead. Allah can make any that Allah wills to hear, but thou canst not make those to hear who are buried in graves. Thou art no other than a warner. Verily, we have sent thee in truth and a bearer of glad tidings, and as a warner, and there never was a people without a warner, having lived amongst them in the past. And if they reject thee, so did their predecessors, to whom came their apostles with clear signs, books of dark prophecies, and books of enlightenment. In the end did I punish those who rejected faith, and how terrible was my rejection of them. Seest thou not that Allah sends down rain from the sky? With it we then bring out produce in various colors, and in the mountains are tracks white and red, of various shades of color, and black with intense in hue. And so amongst men and crawling creatures and cattle are they of various colors. Those truly fear Allah amongst Allah's servants who have knowledge, for Allah is forgiving, most merciful. Allah is exalted in might, oft forgiving. Those who rehearse the book of Allah, establish regular prayer, and spend in charity out of what we have provided for them, secretly and openly, hope for a commerce that will never fail. For Allah will pay them their meed, nay, Allah will give them even further out of Allah's bounty, for Allah is oft forgiving, most ready to appreciate service. That which we have revealed to thee of the book in the truth, confirming that was revealed before it, for Allah is surely, with respect to Allah's servants, well acquainted and fully observant. Then we have given the book for inheritance to such of our servants as we have chosen, but there are amongst them some who wrong their own souls, some who follow a middle course, and some who are, by Allah's leave, foremost in benevolent deeds, that is the highest grace. Gardens of eternity will they enter. Therein will they be adorned with bracelets of gold and pearls, and their garments there will be of silk. And they will say, Praise be to Allah, who has removed from us all sorrow, for our Lord is indeed oft forgiving, ready to appreciate service. Who has out of Allah's bounty settled us in a home that will last, no toil nor sense of weariness shall touch us therein. But those who reject Allah, from them will be the fire of hell, no term shall be determined for them, so they should die, nor shall its penalty be lightened for them. Thus do we reward every ungrateful one. Verily will thy cry aloud for assistance, O Lord, bring us out, we shall work righteousness, not the deeds we used to do. Did we not give you long enough life so that he that should receive admonition? And further the warner came to you. So taste ye the fruits of your deeds, for the wrongdoers there is no helper. Verily Allah knows all the hidden things of the heavens and the earth. Verily Allah has full knowledge of all that is in men's hearts. Allah it is that has made you inheritors in the earth. If then any do reject Allah, their rejection works against themselves. The rejection but adds to the odium for the unbelievers in the sight of their Lord. Their rejection but adds to their own undoing. Say, have ye seen these partners of yours whom ye call upon besides Allah? Show me what it is they have created in the wide earth, or have they a share in the heavens? Or have we given them a book from which they can derive clear evidence? Nay, the wrongdoers promise each other nothing but delusions. It is Allah who sustains the heavens and the earth, lest they cease to function. And if they should fail, there is not one can sustain them thereafter. Verily, Allah is most forbearing, oft forgiving. They swore their strongest oaths by Allah that if a warner came to them, they would follow his guidance better than any other of the peoples. But when a warner came to them, it has only increased their flight from righteousness. On account of their arrogance in the land and their plotting of evil, but the plotting of evil will hem in only the authors thereof. Now are they but looking for the way of the ancients were dealt with. But no change wilt thou find in Allah's way of dealing, nor turning off wilt thou find in Allah's way of dealing. Do they not travel through the earth and see what was the end of those before them, though they were superior to them in strength? Nor is Allah to be frustrated by anything, whatever in the heavens or on earth, for Allah is all-knowing, all-powerful. If Allah were to punish men according to what they deserve, Allah would not leave on the back of the earth a single living creature, but Allah gives them respite for a stated term. When their term expires, verily Allah has in Allah's sight all Allah's servants. Tao Te Ching, chapters 7 a 12. Chapter 7. Heaven and earth are everlasting. The reason heaven and earth can last forever is that they do not exist for themselves. Thus they can last forever. Therefore the sages place themselves last but end up in front, are outside of themselves and yet survive. Is it not due to their selflessness? That is how they can achieve their own goals. Chapter 8. The highest benevolence resembles water. Water greatly benefits myriad things without contention. It stays in places that people dislike. Therefore it is similar to the Tao, dwelling with the right location, feeling with great depth, giving with great kindness, speaking with great integrity, governing with great administration, handling with great capability, moving with great timing. Because it does not contend, it is therefore beyond reproach. Holding a cup and overfilling it cannot be as beneficial as stopping short. Pounding a blade and sharpening it cannot be kept for long. Gold and jade fill up the room. No one is able to protect them. Wealth and possession bring arrogance and leave disasters upon oneself. When achievement is completed, fame is attained. Withdraw oneself. This is the Tao of heaven. Numero 10. In holding the soul and embracing oneness, can one be steadfast without straying? In concentrating the energy and reaching relaxation, can one be like an infant? In cleaning away the worldly view, can one be without imperfections? In loving the people and ruling the nation, can one be without manipulation? In the heavenly gates opening and closing, can one hold to the feminine principle? In understanding clearly all directions, can one be without intellectuality? Bearing it, rearing it, bearing without possession, achieving without arrogance, raising without domination. This is called the mystic virtue. Numero 11, chapter 11. 30 spokes join in one hub. In its emptiness there is the function of a vehicle. Mix clay to create a container. In its emptiness there is the function of a container. Cut open doors and windows to create a room. In its emptiness there is the function of a room. Therefore that which exists is utilized to create benefit. That which is empty is utilized to create functionality. Chapter 12. The 5 colors make one blind in the eyes. The 5 sounds make one deaf in the ears. The 5 flavors make one tasteless in the mouth. Racing and hunting make one wild in the heart. Treasures that are difficult to acquire make one cause damage. Therefore the sages care for the stomach and not the eyes. That is why they discard the other and take this. Alhamdulillah Rahman Rahim, Allahu Akbar. Deus nos de qui es in celis, sanctificatum nomen tuum, vahigu satnam. Dau kadau fehung dau. Ja! Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher katzonu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu l'sok b'divrai Torah. Kyrie eleison. Sivu mastu sabjekatehim, sabe sata b'vantu sukitata, vagabia, umbutum, shabono, frekako, akwaba, upindana amani, womanjekam. Shisha, kamosunida, domo arigato, pelma yelo wakantoko, talk odokoshingun. God, we thank you for all that you bless us, good with God. Ata Jeremy Atafanami Aho, Shanti Shanti Shanti, Amen. Alhamdulillah Rahman Rahim, Allahu Akbar. Deus noster qui es in celis, sanctificatum nomen tuum, vahigu satnam. Dau kadau fehung dau. Ja! Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Kyrie eleison. Sivu mastu sabjekatehim. Sabe sata b'vantu sukitata. Fakabia. Umbutum. Shabon. Frekako. Akwaba. Upendon amani. Womanjekam. Shishin. Kamosinida. Domo arigato. Pelma yel wakantoko. Talk odokoshingun. God, we thank you for all that you bless us. Glory to God. Ata Jamia Tafnami. Aho. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom. Zaijen, adios, te chakaris, asmugo, kirlego, Fred. One love and peace.